Harry is in a position now where he is conflicted about his life with Meghan, not sure about moving forward with her. And I think he needed a motherly person, someone to give him some advice. Of course, he couldn't go to Doria, right? This is exactly what it was. He was there trying to get some advice about some choices, decisions that he is going to have to make about his marriage. And whether you want to recognize it or not, or just say, well, I support my wife, deep down, alone at night, when you are with your own thoughts and that woman is off snoring.
Meghan's closest friend, Jessica Mulroney, vanished from her life. Her family connections severed, Hollywood relationships dissolved. Now watch what's happening with Harry. The same pattern is emerging, but this time the stakes couldn't be higher. Royal historians have never seen anything like it. A marriage that's also a multi-million-dollar empire. A love story that's become a business contract. Industry veterans in Hollywood report that meetings now feature one Sussex, not two. The pattern that destroyed every close relationship in Meghan's life is repeating itself.
In your head and count all these things that you have lost. Where's your future? Where are you going? Where's your family? You literally have no future.
To understand where things stand today, we need to examine who Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were before they became a brand. Harry, the spare to the heir, had spent his life as the royal family's most relatable member. The soldier prince, the charity champion, the one who could crack a joke at stuffy palace events. His authenticity was his currency, his informality his charm.
A lot about that, which I'm not going to go into in detail today, but that have now effectively been used as the outlet to deny the Hollywood Reporter's story. It is an absolutely...
Meghan brought something entirely different to the table. A successful actress who'd navigated Hollywood's brutal hierarchy, she understood image construction in ways the royal family never had to consider. Where Harry operated on instinct and emotion, Meghan worked with strategy and precision. This wasn't vanity. It was survival, learned through years of forcing doors open that weren't built for her.
You're not in a country that you really truly feel welcomed and like this is going to be your forever. You are...
Royal biographer Tom Quinn observed early on that this combination could either be revolutionary or combustible. What's telling is how quickly it became both. The initial magic of their union, the modernization of monarchy, the breath of fresh air in ancient halls carried within it the seeds of its current crisis.
Employees revealed as fresh details emerge after dictator claims. And then the article reads, GB News has been handed an absolute denial of the allegations as well as Meghan's message to her employees and has confirmed with several current staffers.
Looking back, the signs were there from the beginning. Notice the pattern in their public evolution. First came the honeymoon period, where every appearance radiated synchronized perfection. Then gradually, something shifted. Royal historian Marlene Koenig pointed out that by early 2023, their body language at events had changed. Where once they moved as one unit, there emerged a subtle but persistent tension.
These quotes were fabricated by someone lacking knowledge of our company. The Duke and Duchess work from Montecito and we're based in Hollywood.
This wasn't the first time we'd seen this trajectory with Meghan's relationships. Consider her Hollywood friendships, many of which followed a similar arc: intense initial bonding, collaborative projects, then unexplained distance. Her relationship with Jessica Mulroney, once her closest confidant, quietly dissolved. Her family connections severed. Even professional relationships in Hollywood seemed to follow this boom and bust cycle.
I think trying to find this independence, trying to learn independence too.
But there was something else happening beneath the surface. Sources close to the palace revealed that Harry had begun what insiders called his quiet rebellion. Not the dramatic door-slamming kind. Harry wasn't built for that. Instead, it manifested in missed strategy meetings, improvised speeches when scripts had been prepared, arrivals that were just late enough to be noticed.
Quote would fly, but the circumstances don't even allow for it. If she's marching around and barking orders to Archewell employees, no Archewell employee could factually claim that. It's total nonsense.
The pattern extended to their business ventures as well. What began as a united front, signing deals together, appearing jointly at every opportunity, evolved into something more fractured. By late 2023, industry veterans in Hollywood were noticing that meetings increasingly featured one Sussex, not two. The excuse was always scheduling, but the timing is important here. The Hollywood Reporter story in late 2024 brought what insiders had known into sharp focus. Reportedly, tensions within their Archewell organization reflected larger tensions within the marriage itself. According to sources familiar with the situation, Meghan's management style, described by some former employees as exacting, by others as dictatorial, was creating friction not just with staff but with Harry himself. Consider what this really meant. Here was a woman who'd fought her way through Hollywood's notorious gatekeeping, who'd weathered palace intrigue that would break most people, now being accused of creating the very type of hostile environment she'd once fled. The irony wasn't lost on royal watchers. But the reality beneath these allegations was more complex. As biographer Andrew Morton noted, Meghan's need for control stemmed from genuine trauma. The British tabloid assault on her character, the palace's refusal to defend her, the racist undertones of coverage, all of this had taught her that precision wasn't luxury, it was survival. Every email sent at 5 a.m., every micromanaged detail, every strategy session that ran too long. These weren't power plays. They were defensive maneuvers from someone who'd learned that one slip could mean destruction. Harry, however, was operating from a different playbook entirely. Sources close to the prince revealed he'd returned to therapy, seeking what one insider described as a way to be himself again. The prince who'd once walked behind his mother's coffin under the world's gaze, who'd served in Afghanistan, who'd created the Invictus Games, that man was struggling to find himself within the carefully constructed Sussex brand. What few people realized was how this dynamic was poisoning their private moments. Palace sources suggested that what had once been easy chemistry had evolved into something more calculated. Dinners that should have been intimate became strategy sessions. Conversations about their children included discussions of photo releases and media management. The brand had begun swallowing the marriage. Then came the incident that would crystallize everything, seemingly minor, yet loaded with meaning. During a public speaking engagement, as Harry delivered one of his signature heartfelt speeches, Meghan entered unexpectedly, a tap on the shoulder, lasting less than 2 seconds. To the casual observer, nothing more than a spouse's gentle interruption. But within that gesture, seasoned royal watchers saw everything. The timing, just as Harry was finding his rhythm. The execution, public, in front of cameras. The response, Harry's visible disruption, his momentary loss of composure. Social media exploded with interpretations. But what matters isn't what people saw. What matters is what it revealed about the power dynamics at play. Royal protocol expert Grant Harold noted that such interruptions, however minor they might seem, simply aren't done in royal circles. The fact that Meghan felt comfortable enough, or desperate enough, to break this unwritten rule spoke volumes about where things stood. The morning after, that 2-second clip had been dissected frame by frame across the internet. But beyond the viral moment lay a deeper truth. This couple, who'd spent years cultivating an image of perfect synchronization, had allowed their mask to slip. The carefully choreographed unity was showing cracks that no amount of PR could fully seal. Looking at the pattern reveals something larger than personal drama. What we're witnessing is the collision of two incompatible worldviews, magnified by unprecedented public scrutiny. Meghan represents the American dream, self-made, ambitious, unwilling to accept limitations. Harry embodies British aristocracy, duty-bound, traditional despite his rebellious streak, shaped by institutions older than most nations. Unlike previous royal marriages that foundered, Charles and Diana, Andrew and Sarah, this one is playing out in the age of social media, where every micro-expression becomes content, every pause gets analyzed, every gesture spawns 1,000 theories. The institution of monarchy, already struggling with relevance in the 21st century, finds itself grappling with a very modern problem. Sources within the palace revealed that senior royals were watching the situation with what one insider called deep concern but careful distance. The memory of Diana's departure from the royal family and its tragic aftermath haunts every decision, yet the patterns are uncomfortably familiar. The isolation of the outsider spouse, the gradual alienation from family, the competing narratives played out in media. But there's a crucial difference. Diana never had the platform that Meghan commands. She couldn't monetize her story in real time, couldn't build a media empire on her terms. Meghan can and has, and this fundamentally changes the power dynamics. The palace can't simply wait her out or freeze her out. She's too powerful, too connected, too savvy for traditional royal containment strategies. By early 2025, the evidence of separate trajectories had become impossible to ignore. Harry was increasingly seen at events alone, particularly those connected to his pre-Meghan passions, veterans affairs, conservation, sports. These appearances had a different quality to them. Observers noted he seemed lighter, more spontaneous, more like the Harry of old. Meghan, meanwhile, was forging her own path with renewed intensity. Industry insiders suggested she was eyeing ventures far beyond entertainment, political influence, perhaps even elected office. The ambition that had carried her from working-class Toronto to Hollywood to Windsor Castle wasn't satisfied. It might never be. The cruel irony is that the very qualities that initially drew them together, his authenticity and her ambition, his warmth and her precision, had become sources of friction. What once complemented now conflicted. The salt and pepper, as Meghan once called them, were no longer seasoning the same dish. Friends of the couple painted a picture of two people still bound by genuine affection, but increasingly unable to synchronize their visions for the future. Harry, sources suggest, craved simplicity, a life where he could serve causes he believed in without every move being scrutinized for its brand impact. Meghan couldn't afford such luxury. For her, relaxing control meant risking everything she'd built. One could argue that what we're witnessing isn't the failure of a marriage, but the inevitable consequence of turning a relationship into a commodity. Every couple faces pressure points, disagreements over priorities, lifestyle, future direction, but most couples work through these in private. The Sussexes must navigate them while performing for an audience of millions. The pressure manifests in ways both obvious and subtle. The obvious, every public appearance dissected, every gesture analyzed, every word parsed for hidden meaning. The subtle, the impossibility of genuine spontaneity, the weight of always being on, the exhaustion of perpetual performance. Sources close to the couple revealed that even their most private moments carry the shadow of public consumption. A family photo becomes a statement. A choice of restaurant becomes a headline. A child's birthday party requires security assessments and media strategies. The normal rhythms of marriage, the ebb and flow of connection and distance, become amplified into crises. What's particularly damaging is how their individual trauma responses have begun triggering each other. Meghan's hypervigilance, born from legitimate persecution, reads to Harry as control. Harry's desire for authenticity, shaped by a lifetime of performative duty, reads to Meghan as recklessness. Neither is wrong, but together they're creating a spiral that's becoming increasingly difficult to arrest. Behind all the analysis and speculation lies a simpler, sadder truth. Two people who genuinely loved each other may have discovered that love isn't always enough, not when that love must bear the weight of public expectation, commercial pressure, family estrangement, and cultural collision. What makes their situation particularly poignant is that both are, in their own ways, trying to break cycles of dysfunction. Harry watched his parents' marriage implode under public scrutiny, watched his mother hounded literally to death. Meghan experienced the casual racism of being mixed race in entertainment, the exhaustion of constantly proving herself worthy. Both came to this marriage carrying wounds they hoped to heal. Instead, they found those wounds being constantly reopened, examined, monetized. The therapy sessions Harry attends aren't just about his marriage. They're about unpacking decades of institutional trauma while simultaneously living through fresh trauma. Meghan's early morning emails aren't just about control. They're about a woman who learned that letting her guard down invites destruction. The tragedy is that, in another context, without the cameras and contracts and constant scrutiny, they might have had a chance to be what they promised to be, a modern love story that transcended traditional boundaries. But context is everything, and theirs is perhaps the most challenging any modern couple has faced. As we examine where things stand today, the pattern that emerged with Jessica Mulroney, with estranged family members, with former Hollywood connections, seems to be asserting itself once again. But this time, the stakes couldn't be higher. This isn't just about a friendship or a professional relationship. It's about a marriage that's become a multi-million-dollar enterprise, a family with young children, a narrative that millions have invested in emotionally. Whether the relationship can be salvaged remains uncertain. What's clear is that the current trajectory is unsustainable. Something will have to give, either Meghan's iron grip on their narrative, Harry's yearning for authenticity, or perhaps the public's insatiable appetite for their drama. Royal historians point to precedent, but there really isn't one. No royal has ever attempted what Harry's attempting, to be both inside and outside the institution, to monetize royal connection while rejecting royal constraint. No Hollywood figure has managed what Meghan's managing, to maintain celebrity status while claiming privacy rights, to court publicity while condemning scrutiny. They exist in a space they've created, but perhaps can no longer control. The empire they've built requires their unity, but maintaining that unity may be destroying what made it real in the first place. It's a thoroughly modern tragedy, playing out in real time, with no script and no certain ending. What we're left with is a question that extends beyond their personal story. In an age where authenticity is currency, but performance is survival, where love is content but content is business, is it possible for any relationship to thrive under such conditions? The Sussexes may be providing an answer none of us wants to hear, that some stages are simply too bright, some spotlights too harsh, for even the strongest love to survive unchanged. Whether this represents the final act or merely another chapter in their story remains to be written. But what's certain is that the fairy tale has transformed into something far more complex, far more human, and ultimately, far more revealing about the price of living your private life as public performance.